Man, I can't believe it still.
Do you remember when we were here? You probably remember this. We were here for when we announced the 4-car thing, and Mike was like, "You got to come back when you're in a race."
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty crazy, man. First off, describe to me the feeling, and I can imagine. I think about this while I'm watching it. I imagine like this feeling that you're having, because I remember it when you had to battle the shit out of Daniel. Y'all raced the shit out of each other. It was fascinating, awesome race. But once you finally get clear and you're starting to see the distance, and your car, like the car's as good as it's been all day. Mm-hmm. I mean, all this nice clean air, and you did what I knew you could do, right? And you drove away. Like, talk to me and explain to people that feeling that you're finally about to do something that you've, like, I know you're also nervous. You're like, good, yell at them out. What the
Yeah.
But there is this feeling of, holy shit, this is really about to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you even go back to the restart. Like, I knew that the restart was going to be so important. And I hope, obviously I felt like, in a way, I honestly felt like whoever won the restart was probably going to win the race. I mean, that happens a lot. When Daniel was able to clear us on the restart, and, then, we were fending, there's a couple of them behind us that had caught up to, and it was looking like it was going to be, a big battle there for a minute. And we kind of settled in, and then I was able to take the fight back to the 99 and ultimately get him around him. But the biggest surprise to me was, like, when I got around him, how big of a gap we pulled right away. And I kind of, I'm like looking at him, we have a good gap, and looking at the gap behind him, and there's even a bigger gap.
Yeah.
Those guys got stuck racing each other.
What's happening over the radio?
Not a whole lot at that point, really. We just kind of settled in. Jason's kind of started just counting the laps off, and then it's like each one you just feel a little more, right? Like, you just, when you get to 5 to go, you're like, oh, he ain't catching me now, right? No. Like, we're this is ours as long as it stays green, right?
Yeah.
And to me, I think you really feel it the most when you take the white, because you're like, as long as this car stays
break.
Rolling and the tires got
caution
air in
can
them,
come out now.
Yeah, we want it if the caution comes out now. So that's when you get the white. That's when you're like, oh, yeah, and then the emotion really starts to hit you.
Yeah, you hopped out of your car and sat down on the hood. You stood up for a second, but then you sat down on the hood, and I could sense, like, that was the moment, I think, where you were like, you were like, all right, damn, I've climbed this mountain.
Yeah.
The one that you started climbing back in Nashville Fairgrounds, you finally, you're like, this is the view.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I think, I said this after the race. I don't know if you heard it or not, but it's interesting. A lot of what I took from that was, so over the off season, I was watching, we were playing around on the TV or whatever, and I turned on the new NASCAR channel that's on, and when I downloaded it and turned it on, the 2014 Daytona 500 was on, and we watched like the last 50 laps of the race, and a lot of what I did was from your celebration that night, right? Like, I was like, man, that's what I want to do, because to me it was obviously like, I'm not a big, smoky burnout, blow the tires off of it type guy. Even, when I raced here, like, I do a little bit of one, but it's, never really like super intentional, right? And when you won that race that night, like, watching you, and it showed you had an in-car camera, and it showed you like you were kind of just taking your stuff off slowly, and you're acknowledging the fans, and it's just like felt like you were really soaking in the moment, right? Like, and you could tell that. So to me, that was what I wanted to do, because like you can even hear it in my voice, the emotion after. Like, I don't talk right away, like, because I'm a little choked up, and then I kind of say a couple words, but they don't come out real clear. You can see the emotion in me, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I took that moment to just kind of collect my thoughts and soak it in, and that was a lot of what my thoughts were at that point. Was like, okay, I'm gonna, because even I think back to the days of racing at Hickory and stuff. That's what we did a lot of times. You swung around backwards, got the checkered flag, waved at the fans. There's trackside parking and all these people, and they're either cheering you or booing you or whatever when you're coming around. So to me, that was what it was about, really, was just trying to just soak it up as much as I could, and however long it took. I really didn't care, and just enjoy it.
I think you did a great job of taking in the moment. That's one thing I worried about, was like, and there's no perfect way to celebrate a win. And my dad told me when I won my first one, he's like, you only win your first one once, you better celebrate it. And I'm like, I don't know what that even means. And so like, of course, like on the front straightaway is incredible. Going to victory lane, that whole having that genuine victory lane experience, and I'm thankful for the FaceTime call. That meant so much to me that you of all the people that you wanted to connect with in the moment, you reached out to me. I was certainly sitting there in my house. I text Amy. You were 5 laps to go, and Amy texted me something about the kids, and I just texted her back, Josh. And she was like, Josh what? Josh what? And I'm like, he's about to – yeah. And she goes, is he about to win? I said, white flag. I was like, I couldn't even talk, right? I couldn't even, like, think. I got up and went and took the trash out with 5 laps to go. I couldn't watch.
That's funny.
Dude, I was talking to Tony Gibson, and when Alan Kwiecki won the 92 championship, he was the gas man. He's like, I didn't watch the last 2 laps. I huddled down against the pit wall and hit. It's like, man, when you get in those moments, like if you're not doing it like you, if you're not out in the car, you'll experience that probably someday where you're like, I can't even watch. And I bet there's a lot of people just like me that are in your world, right, that were the same way, that are just so over the moon for this to happen. And I'm sorry, I don't want to make it about me, but man, I was so proud of you. I was so happy for you. No, I want to ask you, Wood Brothers. So you get an opportunity to stay in Cup. I remember you mentioned that in your interview, your post-race interview. Like, it's a privilege to be here, and I'm lucky that I'm lucky to be here. I'm thankful that this opportunity is the next one. Can you even articulate like how this thing has kind of come together so quickly? Y'all went to, you take the job. They kind of retool this team. You're embraced by the Penske drivers, and I don't even know what that experience has been like for you, but for as far as I know, they've really embraced your becoming part of the deal. And then you go to Atlanta and run badass. Then you go to Phoenix and run really great. And it's like shit. Like, so walk me through that whole thing from the moment you accept the offer, you go up to Stewart, Virginia to visit them and get this massively quick introduction and, crash course in all things Wood Brothers. So walk me through that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a amazing experience. And even when I first met with them, last summer, like it just felt like the right move, right? Like you just sit down and you look at everything going on, and it just felt like the right move. Obviously, the affiliation with Team Penske and the structure, and being alongside my Penske teammates, through that affiliation, and being able to lean on those guys and learn from those guys, and rely, use their success to help myself, right? Like that was a big part of it. And then on the other side, you have like the grassroots old school feel that you kind of have you're the driving for the Wood Brothers, which is their legacy is so long and storied in the sport, but and they're such great people that it's just a unique balance between the two. And really from the start, we were clicking things off pretty quick, getting done, and then really like soon as the off season hit, we were using the sim, we were working on stuff, meetings, a lot of work on the off season. Really, I feel like I didn't have much off season too much. We stayed after it pretty well, and it's just even the Clash was really cool. We didn't qualify quite like we wanted, but we got our it was an unknown going there for the first time, and Miles did a really good job with the car, made the car a lot better for Sunday, and we were able to transfer in the race and hold our own pretty well in the race, get a solid finish. And then from then on, I mean, it's just been a really good experience. I think Miles has done a really good job in his situation, right? Like he's been kind of behind the scenes of Team Penske the last couple of years, really involved in the next gen program, kind of from when the next gen come involved. So he's seen a lot of things from his view of all the teams, right? Like, and he's able to take that knowledge with his own and put it together. And it's just been it just feels like, Eddie said in the media center, he's like, it just feels like things are clicking, right? And that's how I feel about it, right? Like we're just, as a driver, I don't really feel like I'm doing anything too terribly different than what I did last year, but the environment's good, and I have good teammates to rely on with their information, obviously, on the driving side, but also the setup side, right? Like that's something I've leaned into a lot already. If we don't have quite the pace in practice, leaning into what those guys are doing and, whether that's, making an adjustment or not making an adjustment at all, right? And just being more confident, knowing that, those guys are going to run good has been a big part of it. And, it's just been a great experience, really, and getting to know the Woods more and more. They're just such awesome people, and they're having a lot of fun right now.
Yeah, you're still kind of new in that relationship. John Wood has been put in a situation or a position of authority and has really kind of taken on a bigger role. And I text him from time to time, and he'll text me from time to time because he reached out to me to sort of pick my brain about who Josh Berry was and why I thought Josh Berry would, be a great fit for the Wood brothers. And so we've kind of maintained a bit of a, communication ever since. And I remember I worked with John, I raced with John for years, but he's got quite a personality. It's big. Mm-hmm. How do you enjoy, getting to know him? And he's he's taken on a little bit more of a leadership role in the, it's kind of like the passing of the torch, if you will, this particular year, where, his dad, Lynn and Eddie, the brothers up there are kind of passing on that authority and that, how to run and manage that program. So I'm kind of curious as to how that's working out for you.
Yeah, no, it's been good. Obviously, he definitely has some personality, which is a good thing. But no, he's been really excited.
Yeah.
Him and Kevin both have been really excited about what we've been doing, and for him, I guess I think they're really trying to they're enjoying it, right? Because this is a big win, and this win at Vegas was really big, but just. I don't know if I want to say that this is what they expect of their car, but they feel like they're like, okay, now we're doing the things that we should be doing. This is why we're racing, and mm-hmm. It's not, it's not really overcomplicating that, right? Like just going out and just racing and running well, and I think for me, like I didn't, it was interesting to hear his stories over the the last 6 months or so of him, how much attention that they paid to me, especially when I was driving that HMS and had the fill-in role those races, and how he kind of he mentioned the other day that he never thought that that this opportunity would ever come together to where I would be in the position to come drive for them. So it's just been a great relationship. I mean, they've been so fun to work with, and to hit the ground running like we had and had some good results. I mean, those guys, they truly deserve it.
Yeah, for sure. I was, every time I've seen the Wood brothers walking through the garage, man, it's like royalty. And Leonard and I have always been really close, and he. Back, I don't know if he's still involved in it as much as he is as he used to be, but he used to build these RC cars. I'm sure you saw a few of the things that he's built, but he builds everything. But he used to build very competitive RC cars and used to race in competition, and the gas powered and a lot of hand built pieces and parts and suspension and stuff like that. And so back when I was racing with Tony Jr. and stuff in the old days, we all had cars that he made. He built cars for us, and I've got 2 brand new ones that he built for me probably 15 years ago that I just put on a shelf. And so I mean, I think the one thing that's so interesting and so very cool about this and improbable is the Wood brothers have been able to survive and be involved in this sport. They are a legendary team, a legendary name, and we are better when they are good. We are better as an industry and as a sport when they're successful. I felt that way, last year when Harrison took them to victory lane and they were able to, get into the playoffs, and sure, the car wasn't running as well as they wanted every single week, but just to have them in the conversation was better for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And, so for this year, I thought, man, y'all are going to have to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are going to have, and you talked about the off-season work that you've put in. But I have to imagine that you guys are just over the moon with how the pace has been in this car every single week. And I think that's, to me, is the one thing that I kind of have to pinch myself as a race fan, just as a general fan, not just a Josh Berry fan or a Wood Brothers fan, but like for that car to show up every week and run the way they think it should run and the way that it used to run is, I don't know if it's, I don't know if you can put a value on that for the industry and the sport. So, and I think you can appreciate that, knowing what you know about the Wood Brothers and knowing what you know about NASCAR. But it's just incredible.
Yeah, no, it's been super exciting. And I think you even go back to, it's interesting, when you think of it this way, but when I first got the opportunity, everyone was like, the 100th win, the 100th win, the 100th win. That was the question every time, are you going to be the guy to get the 100th win? Well, July Daytona rolls around, and I'm leading the race, get clipped, flip over, we know that whole 9 yards. And I'm sitting outside the infield care center, and I'm watching, I hear them racing the last lap, and I'm watching, and I think I'm like getting interviewed by Bob or somebody, and the 21 wins the car, and Bob turns around and looks at it and comes back and he's like, "What do you think about that?" And I'm like, I don't know. Right? Like, I don't know what to think right now. I mean, that was a hell of a wreck. And, but I feel like, everything happens for a reason. And I felt like, Harrison really deserved that. They, all those guys loved Harrison, and it was so cool to watch him win that race and have that moment. And at the same time, it was almost a weight off my shoulders in a way that
Not to have to go
that
into
I
the
didn't
deal.
spend the whole off season worrying about winning the 100th race. We kind of got to turn the page and start fresh. We're starting at a new 100, right?
Yeah.
Like that 100's over with now. We're worried about the next 100, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's interesting that things happen for a reason like that, and I know that was a big moment for them, and they really enjoyed that moment with Harrison. But it gave us a opportunity to kind of start fresh, I think, coming into this off season, and obviously some personnel changes and getting to know each other and learning. But like you said, it's definitely been, our expectations were to run well, but you just never know how you're going to start, right? Like you hope that even if you start at the beginning of the year and it's a little bit of a struggle, that you can just just get better and better as the season goes along. But to start as well as we have has been really impressive. And even for me personally too, like Vegas and Phoenix were, some of my toughest races last year, right? Like we're still going to, Martinsville's and Richmond's and Darlington and a lot of these places where I had really good results last year, right? We found ourselves in the top 5 several times last year in the 4-car and having some opportunities. The consistency wasn't there. So to start out like we have and be running this well at some places that maybe I didn't have circled is, just building our confidence when we go, just better preparing us for when we go to these places that I feel like are going to be really good opportunities.
I know that, you didn't get to the end of last year not knowing what your plans were for this season, but it still was a difficult second half. Y'all came out and, you and Rodney had a couple of good runs, top 3 at Darlington. Looked like there was going to be a way to be productive, right? And just have a year of some sort that you could be happy with, even though you knew the ultimate outcome of the program entirely wasn't going to be great. With the way they were shutting down a big part of the operation. The second half of the season, man, y'all couldn't get nothing going.
Yeah.
So I guess talk me through how you manage that. What helped you, I guess, stay focused, stay positive? What helped you keep your head on straight? Because, dude, we all know it's easy to spiral. It's easy to make things worse. It's easy to get, you talk yourself down into a hole if you're not careful. And how did you manage to kind of be able to get to the end of the year and mash the reset button and be ready?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult to finish out the year, and I really don't know why. I don't really. Obviously, there's a lot of things are getting more and more difficult. I guess the further you get into that, more people are leaving or getting prepared to leave and finding their homes. And, I don't know. I mean, I really don't have words for why we didn't finish a little bit better than we did. We had we had a really good, a couple pretty solid races towards the end. Homestead was pretty good for us, but, we just didn't, I can't really put a finger on why I felt like that it just wasn't working. And really all of us, all four of our cars were kind of fighting the same issues at that point, and that's, to me, that's the hardest part about this is, like, I wanted so badly for that to end better than it did, right? Because, Rodney was so instrumental in getting me that opportunity, and he's still, he's just as excited as anyone to watch me win that race Sunday. And
he was one of the first people to Victory Lane.
Yeah, him and Cheddar and Tyler, who was another member of the 4-car, those guys were all, and they kept telling me last year, man, they're like, what's going to be the worst part about this is, you have the potential, and when it clicks, you're going to win. And, we just wish that, this was ending different. Right. And, they were so good for me. And I learned so much throughout last year that, I just really wish the results were a little bit better, but it was a difficult situation for all of us to handle. And I think, for me approaching the off season, right. Like we hit, like I said, we're right after Phoenix. We were in the sim and we're having meetings and we're talking about stuff. And to me, it was the opportunity. Like there's not going to be a next opportunity in my eyes, right? Like that's the way I approached the off season. I was like, this is going to be the opportunity for me to stay racing at this level and to improve and have better results. And that's just the way we approached it over the off season, right? Was just that we're just going to prepare as much as we can and get to know each other, and that was a big part of it, is just spending time with each other, understanding how we think. And Miles has been great. Like I said, Miles has been really good in that aspect, because obviously I feel like he's really sharp on the performance side of the car, but I think and maybe it's because he isn't as experienced yet, that he's seems to have allowed me to be me in how I approach racing and how I approach practice and out qualifying, and I think he just trusts my judgment and my instinct of driving a race car and what it needs to do. And, there's been times this year when, like I said, in practice, we didn't really have the pace, but I'm telling him, like, the car drives good. Like, it's going to race good. I feel good. Like, I don't want to lead you down the wrong path just talking. And he's bought into that and done a great job. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. I've watched you be, watching the races this year. You look comfortable. And a side of that to me is how aggressive you're able to be on restarts. When a driver is firing it off down in the corner and the middle lane opens up and he puts it in there, that's a guy who feels like he knows his car has got the capable ability to make the pass or make the move work. And man, when your car won't do it, you won't try to do it, right? Mm-hmm. When you don't have the belief in the car, you won't try to make that move, or you're just trying to survive the corner. But this year, you feel like watching you race, there's a confidence and there's a belief in the ability of the car that's new and refreshing. How many text messages did you have?
Probably about 300 and something. I've been slowly working through them. I think I've got it. I think I'm caught up now.
Oh,
it definitely took a while. I finally finished up this morning a little bit, but yeah, it was a lot. It was really cool.
Yeah. What did you do when you got home?
Not a lot, actually. So we, was obviously at the racetrack for a while. That was a pretty cool experience, because winning a cup race is, like, Chase Briscoe texted me and he was like, man, winning a cup race is badass, isn't it? And I'm like, it really, we stay busy going through all, the different interviews and doing all that stuff. You really get a lot of time to be in that moment before you leave. And then I went by, saw the guys. They were just finishing up in tech, and then we headed off to the airport. So we got back about 3:30 in the morning. I think it was pretty late. And I turned the race on and had to watch like the last 75 laps or whatever, and just relive it. I couldn't go to sleep right away without watching it. So I watched it for about an hour and then fell asleep. And then the next morning they had me doing stuff at 9:30, 10 o'clock the next morning. So I've been pretty busy, honestly.
Back in the sim, yeah, back to work.
Yeah, but it had some media requests, media stuff
right.
go on Monday morning, and did Corey's podcast, Kevin Harvick's podcast, and then we had some competition stuff in the afternoon. So it's been pretty busy.
When will you have your comp meeting?
That was
You
yesterday.
had it
afternoon.
already?
Yeah,
How did that go? Everybody in there high-fiving?
Yeah, everybody's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, right? I mean, I think they just, that's just I think everybody's just a lot of positive momentum going around, right? I think the cars have been up front. All four of the cars have been up front, leading laps, winning stages, super competitive. So I mean, there's just a lot to be proud of from that organization. I think they're excited to to see the 21 back in victory lane too.
Yep. Did you have any concerns about tech? I always, like, anytime we ever win, I get so nervous. I won't even tweet like excitement or celebration until I get the tech cleared.
I mean, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age, you never know, right? And this is funny too, because and I saw a couple comments about it, which I feel bad about now. But we were doing the interview, and then they were like, "Oh, Miles has got an interview, and then he's got to get to inspection or whatever." And I think in the moment, now looking back on it, I think they were just kind of wrapping things up.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
what does that mean?
Why has he got to go to inspection?
Right. Yeah.
And then actually, I feel bad now because some people made comments the last couple because I kind of started messing with my phone a little bit, and I'm like, is this thing official yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's Miles? Where's
Somebody
Miles at?
gonna break some news?
Yeah. Is there something going on here? So then I was a little anxious like the last 20 minutes of it because I'm like, well, why did he have to go? Did they need him or was he actually done? And it was funny. Then we got out there, and he's like, "Oh no, everything was all good. He's like, they were just trying to get me out of there so we could get wrapped up." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, good."
Jefferson Hodges texted me a picture of your car sitting in tech, and I was like, "Is it clear? Is that clear?" It's like,
this is funny. I don't know how you'll feel about this, but I thought this was so awesome. So we got done, and I went to the car, and it's got confetti and stuff all over it, and they're cleaning it, and I'm like, "What are y'all doing?" They're like, "Well, we got to clean this thing before we put it in the shop. We don't want all this stuff all over the shop." And I'm like, that's pretty badass. That's when you got this winning thing figured out, because it reminded me so much of when we were car store racing all the time. They'd always give you a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
And I told the guys, I was like, look, spray the hell out of me, but do not spray that car because I got to clean that thing Monday morning, and it's going to be all on the roll bars and underneath the seat and then the steering wheel. I mean, it gets everywhere.
Yeah.
So it reminded me a lot of that. It was funny.
Well, man, I'm telling you, all of us here at Junior Motorsports have, watched you work your ass off and grind for a long, long time, hoping to get that opportunity. And I read about it all on social media Sunday night and all day Monday about everybody sort of being reintroduced to your story. Mm-hmm. All the fans and the people in the industry sort of being reminded about like how hard this was, right? Mm-hmm. For you to finally find some ground and get some traction. But it's been so much fun. I think you're in a great spot. It's going to be awesome to see now that now that there's a little bit of pressure relieved mm-hmm. with the win. How focused y'all can remain on trying to prepare for the rest of the year, and how mm-hmm. much more progress you can make, and how much more success there may be out there in front of you with this team. We'll be pulling for you, and thanks for dropping in today.
Yeah, thank you, man.